Teenager Shiinya Kazuya died while saving young girls from an attacker, only to find himself reincarnated into a world of swords and magic. It was a dream come true. Though he remembers his life and knowledge of Earth, he is now Cain von Silford, the third son of an aristocrat. Being granted the protection of the gods on his 5th birthday turned out to be too much of a good thing for Cain. His stats and boosts are so powerful, he must hide his real abilities to climb the ranks of society as he descends into the darkest dungeons. The ultimate isekai adventure begins as a teen-turned child is trapped in a beautiful kingdom he didn't create, but might one day rule. Kazuya walks to the shop glued to his phone for a late-night snack. His attention is drawn when a group of customers jet out of the shop in a panic state. 2 girls run into him, knocking his phone out of his hand. The reason for the hysteria becomes apparent when a man comes out swinging a knife. Kazuya turns to run, while also asking the girls to do the same. He pauses and pivots to find them still on the floor, frozen in fear. The assailant threatens to end them both as he dashes toward them. Kazuya sees this as a time to show some backbone and tackles the attacker, stopping him in his tracks. He turns to order the girls to 10 toes out of the area, but he stops mid-sentence when he realizes that he's leaking. The assailant gets spooked out and flees the scene as the girls rush over to him, crying as the life leaves his body. Kazuya apologizes for making them cry. As the noise from the sirens fades, he wakes up and doesn't recognize the ceiling he's looking at. The guy then sits up wondering if he's at the hospital. He thinks he's in a fancy room as a reward for helping the girls. As he pans the room, his eyes lock with Sylvia's, who excitedly calls him Master Cain as she rushes to hug him. A lady claiming to be his mother also hugs him to his confusion. He looks over to the giant mirror next to the bed and doesn't recognize his reflection. He then begins to panic, running around. The 2 ladies hold him, asking if he's okay. He continues to panic, wanting to know who that is in the mirror. They manage to calm him down as he opens and closes his hands to make sure that this is his new body. The women are still worried, as they ask if he's alright. Sylvia speculates that he must be confused since he has been asleep for a week. His mother checks his temperature and comments that his fever has gone down, but suggests he rests a little longer. She guesses that he must be hungry, so she ordered the maid to get some soup for him. Now that he's in the room alone, the guy figures that he has been reincarnated just like in the light novels. This means that he didn't survive in his first life, but he finds solace that he saved those girls. He decides to check his surrounding first till he is interrupted by Sylvia, who brings the soup. He really enjoys it and can even taste the vegetable tables and meat flavor in the food. He tries to fight the maid off as she goes to put him to bed, but during that time he gets a lot of his questions answered. His name is Cain von Silford and he is currently 3 years old. His father and mother are called Garm and Sarah respectively. He has an older sister called Rain and 2 older half-brothers. Since his dad has 2 wives, some will refer to him as a high-value man, whilst others will call him a city boy. His father is a high-ranking noble with an army that is tasked with protecting the borders of Fort against foreign invaders. There is also a forest nearby full of monsters that they have to be wary of. King gets excited when he hears this. However, they don't have to worry about it, because the adventurers defeat the monsters as their job. He asks if they fight with swords and magic, which Sylvia confirms. This gets him even more excited, as he also wants to try using magic. She informs him that he has to learn how to read and write first, so he begins to study. Kazuya has decided to live up the rest of his life in this world as Cain, since in his old life, he recently only lost his grandfather, who was his last relative, so no one will miss him and he has nothing to miss later on. His father is surprised to hear that Cain can read and write at such a young age. Rain even adds that he can do math, but they don't know that he has the mind of a high schooler. His mother comments that he might be a genius, but Cain passes the attention to Sylvia, stating that she's a good teacher. His praise makes her almost cry. His dad is interested to know why he decided to study. Suddenly his mother also notices that he has been different since he recovered from the fever. Cain just explains that he's trying to learn all he can about the world. His father finds it to be very admirable because he can't lead his estate to him, so he thinks it's a good step for Cain toward making his success in life. Seeing that his father is in support, he pleads to be allowed to read books on magic and the kingdom's history. His dad grants his wish. His mother is happy that he's interested in magic, but Rain points out that he's not ready for the yet, since he has not reached the age where he will get baptized. Their father agrees on that point, stating that he will need to wait till he turns 5 before he can practice, but for now he can start studying the books. As Cain studies, he's surprised that he can use magic as he creates fire, but he quickly hides it. When Sylvia suddenly walks into his room, he doesn't understand why he can use it at such a young age, but he's excited. The lad tries again but overdoes it with the intensity, forcing him to shoot it out of the window. He quickly shuts it off when the maid and his sister walk in. He is certain that Rain saw him, but she has only figured out that he has been studying about the outside world. She notices that he's interested in the topic, so she decides to teach him more by stopping by his room every day. She taught him about the 300-year history of the kingdom and the different races, which comprises of the elves, dwarfs, and beast folk. There are also fluffy things in the world hearing. All of this makes him want to venture outside. 2 years pass and the day of Cain's baptism has arrived, but he's running late. The boy apologizes for keeping his family waiting, but it was worth it because they comment on how handsome he looks. The family head out. In their carriage, as the normal people watching on, Cain also looks out excited, as it is the first time he's seeing the outside world properly. He asks his sister to show him her stats. After going through the ritual herself, she opens her menu and we see that she can use 3 types of elemental magic, but he avoids trouble by pretending that he didn't see the part that says that she adores her little brother. He changes the topic to her impressive stats, and their mother adds that Rain has level 2 protection from the god of magic. His father sees that Cain is a little confused, so he explains that magic and protection are attainable in levels 1 through 5. The higher the level, the more natural talent the person has. Their mother adds that protection is very handy because it determines how much magic is needed to activate a spell. It also affects one's skills. This protection is given by a god, which is all part of the Marineford faith, which is practiced in the kingdom. Some say the god wears a straw hat. The people dedicate their worship to the 7 pillar gods. The baptism ritual is to inform those gods that Cain has reached 5 years of age. As the whole family kneels before the 7 statues, Rain hopes that her younger brother gets bestowed plenty protection and magic from the gods. The priest steps forward to begin the ceremony. He opens a book and prays over him before officially informing the gods that he is of age, as he pleads that they show the path the boy is to walk on. Cain hears an old man's laugh as the place becomes bright. He is transported to the world of the gods. To his shock, he stands before the 7 deities who sit around a table. They have longed for his day and address him as Kazuya. This takes him by surprise, because no one told him that he would transport the main god. Xenom introduces himself and Cain comments on the old-timer, but he informs him that he can hear everything he's thinking. Xenom orders Rhyme, the god of death and rebirth, to explain his situation. She reveals that his death was unexpected, in that, if he didn't interrupt the perpetrator, the guy would have tripped and would have been apprehended by the public. This makes him feel bad, because that means that his efforts were not needed. It also took him a lot of courage to rush out to help the god. This world was moved by his good deed and pled for Rhyme to reincarnate him into this new world. Rhyme blocked his memories through the nursing and diaper-changing state, because it would cause him too much mental torment. She apologizes because he was not supposed to recall his memories at the tender age of 3. Cain is okay with this, because since his memories came back quickly, he was able to learn how to write and use magic. He also has a happy and fulfilling life with his parents and sister, so he should be thanking her for leading his memories with him. The god of magic likes his vibe, so she decides to grant him her protection to continue practicing. Xenom gives his next, and the god of war jumps on the bandwagon and gives his aid in his swordsmanship and martial arts. The god of technology also grants his protection, as he feels like there isn't much entertainment in this world, so he should conservatively use his knowledge from his previous life to progress things. The god of commerce gives his protection, allowing him to use the judgment and item box skill. Lastly, the deity of earth makes it a full house and explains that her perks are unique. He will come to know when he returns. He thanks everyone, just as Xenom tells them all that his time is coming to an end. He laughs as he sends Cain back. The priest comments that it's the first time he has seen the god shine with such brilliance. His father speculates that his son received lots of protection, so he asks Cain to show his status. Looking at the protections he got, Cain knows that it would be a problem if he is to show them, so he pretends that his stomach is hurting to get away. For now, he hides under one of the shelves and opens his status privately. Even he is shocked by the numbers and is glad that he didn't show it to them. He has level 10 for all forms of magic, military and martial arts, as well as item box skills are all at a level 10. He has protection from all the gods at level 10 to 2. The guy wonders what the gods were thinking when doing this. Based on his dad's explanation, he thought the highest level was 5. Cain now knows what Xenom was laughing about. The boy tries to find a way to hide these numbers. Luckily for him, the Xenom has allowed him to create magic and hints that he should use status, conceal, Cain, and meaning really activates it. He later joins his family for dinner and apologizes for keeping them waiting. He tells them that he's feeling better before his dad makes a toast to celebrate his 5th birthday. His mother comments on the light at the baptism and what it could mean. She has never seen it happen to anyone else. That reminds his father, who asks Cain to show his status, and they are shocked by what they are seeing. Despite him concealing the majority, his father Garm can't believe his magic score of 344,560. Cain starts to think that he didn't activate the concealment properly. Garm notes that even palace mages only have about 10,000, and the scary thing is, the boy is only 5. The surprise doesn't end when he sees that he has the item box and judgment skill too. His father states that, with these skills, no matter what job he chooses, he'll be guaranteed success. This is more than amazing, so Garm warns Cain to never show this status to anyone else. Although it is promising, the kingdom could see him as a threat. One long move and you could be put under state supervision. He makes the 2 servants Seabase and Sylvia promise not to tell a soul after dinner. Cain goes to his room, wondering what is considered average stats. He finds a book on summoning magic and decides to go outside with his sister to summon a fluffy creature, but he calls a demon out. Instead, it goes to attack. His sister Cain gets a flashback to the final moments of his previous life and jumps into danger. Again, he tries to hit the monster with a fire spell, but the monster grabs him and pushes him. His will to protect his sister and her friend causes him to send the monster back. He crashes on the floor and loses consciousness. He wakes back to the girls, Joy, and he's happy that this time people are smiling because of his actions. He later gets presented at his debut to a crowd whose look on in awe. Cain gives a speech and reveals his wish to protect everyone by becoming an adventurer. That brings the episode to an end. A young man is reincarnated as a 5-year-old child under the auspices of the king and queen in this royal capital. What's intriguing is that he is born with superhuman abilities and is so powerful that no one can believe it. He is trained by 2 girls, but he is much stronger than them, and here the student surpasses the teacher. What will Cain achieve in his exciting and thrilling adventures in fighting monsters? The story continues after MC's declaration of wanting to be an adventurer to help people and protect everyone's smile. His father Garm tells him he needs to study more for that, so he will be getting him a tutor. Unlike in the real world, this news makes Cain really happy and he looks forward to it laying on his bed. He thinks about who the tutor could be, a muscular one or maybe a witch, or could it be? Thankfully, the anime tropes are on his side soon. Sylvia calls out their hero and MC immediately jumps up, running to the window and teleporting outside. Unfortunately, his teleportation sends him several feet up in the air and he falls onto the unsuspecting melons below, which prevent him from taking fall damage. The woman whose face is buried and asks him if he wants her melons, though he won't be able to get much from them. The butler then introduces the 2 girls as Ms. Millie and Ms. Nina, his tutors. Oh no, he's already made a weird impression on them. NC introduces himself too, but keeps the rest of the details to himself. After all, he's a reincarnated aristocrat who was given max stats by every single god. He can't tell anyone that Ms. Millie, the redhead wearing armor, nervously presents herself to Garm due to his rank as an aristocrat. She's a D-rank adventurer who works as a tutor. Her partner, the greenhead, Nina, is an elf and some sort of mage. MC tells them not to use honorifics, since he wants them to be closer, and his father Garm reveals they will be tutoring him for 3 years. The group immediately heads out for training. The first thing they focus on is swordsmanship. Out in the courtyard, Millie tells him to try a few practice swings while she watches, but even a few practice jabs are apparently too much, since he's literally firing off machine gun blows that would put Genos to shame. It looks like he's stronger than you, Nina remarks. Embarrassed, Millie proclaims, She won't lose to a 5-year-old kid before stepping up and telling MC to have a sparring match with her. MC eagerly takes her on, but she already has trouble deflecting his blows when he activates his god mode. Millie has no chance and begs him to stop, saying, if he keeps going like this, she won't be able to keep up. Her partner, Nina, speculates. He has the blessing of the god of war, and they're amazed someone who was baptized only a few days ago has this much power with their sparring at an end. Millie happily takes the chance to have a break and instead transfers MC over to Nina. I have the blessing of the god of magic level 3. She says so. Let's start with the basics. At this point, you've got to almost feel bad for these tutors. MC wanders over and pipes up, oh, I can do that already. I practiced it in the book. The bookman asks. Confused MC proceeds to literally tear up the floor, casting water, ball, fireball, and rock bullet. He says it's all he can do for now, but evidently his lack of understanding really shows itself. Despite not thinking, he did much. Tina comments he's using chantless magic. It takes tremendous training just to shorten the chanting, but to be able to do chantless magic at 5 years old. What a genius! It's Millie's turn to praise Cain now, so she brings up how he seems to be using all element magic. That's impossible. Nina remarks, not even a sage class royal court magician can use all attribute magic. Moreover, that power they'd look at the whole MC has just blasted in the walls of his own castle, and Nina asks him if he has the blessing of the god of magic. The two girls sigh in frustration as they realize there's not much they can actually teach him. Oh, can I offer you a nice towel in these trying times? MC asks, using his item box to retrieve a blanket. An item box at this point. Those two don't feel they can be surprised anymore. Cain, you're a genius. They say we can't teach you anymore. We can't keep up with you. MC does have something he wants though, and requests they take him outside. Silky can touch grass. He's never been outside the mansion since he was born, except for his baptism, so he wants them to take him outside to practice magic. The two of them agree, but have to convince their father Garm. First, the trio goes back inside where they meet with Garm and telling they can't teach him more without harming the mansion. He's gotten that strong already. That's my son Cain. Sarah remarks, so my lord. Millie says we would like to teach an outside the capital from now on. Garm consents, but on the condition that MC return before sunset and remain careful. Accompanied by his mentors, NC goes outside and tests his intermediate magic, which blows up a large boulder. Unfortunately, this explosion doesn't send him flying into their melons, but Nana recognizes his magic is beyond the intermediate level. Surely he's tired after casting a high-level spell, right? Surely there are some limits to his strength, right? Nope, of course. MC's amount of magic power is off the charts and he doesn't feel fatigued at all. Who is this boy exactly? Just then a killer rabbit runs out and charges MC, who easily takes it down with a cast of air bullets. You can sell its parts if you want, but what are you going to do with it? They ask MC summon his item box and stores the slain rabbit in there. I'm going to show it to my parents and my sister. He says watching this makes Millie a bit envious, and she tells him she's going to buy a magic bag when she can save up the money. When NC asks about it, she tells him there are magic items that can do things individuals don't have a talent for. In this case, it allows the user to essentially simulate having a magic box ability. The trio then goes and searches for killer rabbits, with Nina using her magic to detect their presence. Cain asks her how she did that, and she tells him you can channel your magic power breath of the wild style to locate anything with a magic power of its own. He tests, search out and detects the 4 rabbits 300 meters from here. What normally you can't even use it on your first try, much less detect the exact number. Millie rests a hand on Nina's shoulder and tells her to give up on Cain. After all, he's already so much more powerful than them. The trio easily defeats the rabbits, but one of them turns tail and disappears into the forest. When MC goes to chase, they tell him to stop, since it's full of strong monsters. Once every few decades, they run amok and many monsters attack the city. That's why the city had such a great outer wall. Cain, you must become a strong adventurer, so you can one day defend the city with only a few rabbit kills. NC has somehow ended up at level 8, which was due to the premium EXP buff. The gods gave him. MC has to keep this a secret too, to avoid getting placed under state control. If I had a sponsorship with Nordvn, I would place it here. The next day the trio dropped by the local adventurers guild and meet Rudy. The Dog Girl Guild receptionist MC introduces himself saying he can't register as an adventurer due to his age. Another adventurer comes over harassing the pair and using his standing as a C-rank adventurer to bully them. He tries to force them to have a drink with him, but naturally MC stops them saying he has a training session with them and requesting they leave them alone. A short but extremely one-sided fight breaks out and MC throws the C-rank and his gang out. The door then gets a nice hug from his two tutors. The group then goes out to train in the field and outside the forest before eventually returning back to their mansion. Thus, 3 years soon pass and MC is now 8 wondering if he can do anything to pay Millie and Nina back for the past few years. He remembers Millie wanted a magic bag and decides to grab some monster materials to craft the magic item running into the forest. He was explicitly told not to enter. Cain easily defeats a bloody ogre and then an earth dragon, but his attacks caused such a commotion. The spotters on the wall ring the alarm, sending the fort's garrison out to try and stop what they think is a monster invasion. Their court mage finds it strange. They can't detect any more monsters, and when they see the massive blast hole in the ground, Garm sees a handkerchief Cain had accidentally left behind, realizing what had just happened. Meanwhile, the next day Cain is showing off by defeating swarms of wolves in front of his tutors. It's their last day with him and they head over to congratulate him. He's essentially graduated now. MC takes out a pair of bags for the girls' magic bags. He made himself. The red bag is from the blood ochre and the red one is from the earth dragon. He calmly says, "I tried to moderate the magic I put in too." The two are surprised, but even with his moderation in crafting, the bags are capable of holding an entire mansion, which would put it easily at a national level treasure we be attacked. If people knew about this, they say, of course, MC has thought this through and has built a security system where the weight of the bag's contents would be doubled for any imposter. MC proceeds to give them a heartfelt speech thanking them for teaching him for all these years, but before he realizes what's happening, the two girls kiss him on the cheek, making him blush furiously. "We'll see you again," they say. "If you ever need help, we'll be there." Thus ended. The contract period with the two of them and MC became just a little bit more mature, and finally, he'll be able to start his heroic journey blasting apart everything in his way. Foreign. The episode begins with Cain, after reaching 10 years of age, heading to the royal capital to announce his appearance. It was an event that all the noble children must go through, and he was accompanied by his sister, who was very excited to live with her brother in the capital. He had to undergo admission exams and start attending school, and his father informed him that school attendance starts at the age of 12, giving him 2 years, but his sister, Renee, who is 12 years old, will start attending school and work hard to rank first in the school. Cain asked his father about the remaining time to reach the school, and he was informed that there was only 1 week left, assuming that they would not encounter any monsters on their way. They were advised to be cautious of any attacks to help the guards, so Cain used his power to search for any monsters and found that there was a battle going on 3 kilometers ahead of them. His father was amazed that he could read this from such a distance, and Cain informed him that there were several dozen monsters gathering around 10 people, and they needed to hurry to catch up with them. One of his father's security personnel went to the battle site, but Cain felt that he could not reach the place in time, so he decided to go himself. His father warned him of the danger, but Cain did not listen and used the power of the winds to go to the battle. These monsters appeared and attacked a man who had promised his friends to protect the carriage at any cost. Suddenly, a boy named Cain came to their aid and used his strength to cut down the first monster. The man was surprised by the boy's incredible power, but they continued to fight and killed many of the monsters. However, 2 monsters approached the knights, and Cain was afraid to use magic as it would harm the knights. Instead, he drew his sword and cut one monster in half with fire before going to check on the knights. One of them warned him never to approach the carriage, and Cain realized that he was the 3rd son of Margrave Cain von Silford. Then, the knights of Cain's father arrived and were surprised by his speed and ability to single-handedly defeat all the monsters. Cain spoke to the knights and used his healing magic to heal them. He asked them to try eating food to replenish their lost blood. Then, he hid the knights who had lost their lives in the battle with the monsters. At that moment, Garn, Cain's father, arrived quickly to help the carriage and was amazed by what his son had done. He asked his knights to tell him the details later and saw the Santana Duke family crest on the carriage. He was relieved to see that his daughter, Princess Talicia, and Miss Silk were inside and thanked Cain for rescuing them from danger. Garn knew Cain and was delighted that everyone was safe. But Princess Talicia is getting tired, so Cain asked her if he could use his magic on her to calm her mind, and she agreed. Cain used his magic to calm them down until they felt their hearts becoming lighter, and all their pain and exhaustion disappeared. They thanked him for what he did for them because they thought he had saved them. Then Miss Silk spoke to him and told him that she saw him through the window of the carriage, and he unleashed his magic with great force like a great storm, and his skills were also amazing. Then she asked him why he had traveled such a distance, and he told her that he was on his way to the royal capital to announce his appearance. The princess told him that they were also on their way to announce their appearance, and they asked him to travel with them because they would not feel safe alone. They all got into the carriage, and Cain felt like he was sitting in a narrow place, so he asked them to sit on the front seat, but they refused because they were still afraid. They felt comfortable with him sitting next to them. One of the knights came and asked them to prepare themselves because they were approaching the town of Renoma. They asked Cain to sit with them when they arrived in the town, and when they got there, Cain said goodbye to them and promised to see them the next day. The princess asked him to stay with them for the night because she was very scared, so she wanted him to be with her all the time. Cain's father came and told them that they were still 10 years old and they should be careful. However, the princess was still afraid of the sight of the monsters that had attacked them, and their image did not leave her mind. What would they do if monsters attacked them while they were sleeping? Tell them that they are in a town and nothing is likely to happen, but also inform them that they cannot rule out a dragon attack. They don't want a maid to guard them, but they want him to stay with them. They begged him to agree to stay with them, and he agreed on the condition that the room they would be staying in was very spacious. They were very happy that Cain agreed to stay with them for the night, and his father asked him to act wisely, given that he was still only 10 years old. We see the girls wanting to sleep next to Cain, but he doesn't want to. Tellus told him that they are afraid of the night and also that they think about what would happen if monsters attacked them. He told them that he would become so tense that he would be unable to sleep. In the morning, we see Cain tired, and they are on their way to the royal capital. When they arrive, they are greeted by this man, and we know that he is the leader of the Frosian organization, Dean Vaughn. Then Cain is thanked for what he did for them, and the knights explain everything to him. Thank you for protecting the princess and Miss Silk and my colleagues who perished in battle. They have returned home now. I thank you on behalf of their families. Then Dean Vaughn says that we should return their belongings and bury or burn their bodies where they fell, but with your help, we can return them to their families. Then the killer of these knights bravely fought against 50 of the orcs to protect the Einstein. Dean Vaughn said, I will inform the fellow knights and the families who are waiting for their return, and our knights did not ascend. You must meet King Vinhesh Cain, surprised, and goes to him. Then he tells him that this boy was attacked by a group of orcs who outnumbered the Thursday army. It was an organized army of orcs, not to mention the presence of an orc commander of the highest rank. The king speaks to everyone and tells them that this young man named Cain claims to have eliminated all the orcs easily after the battle. Our injured knights were healed with healing magic, and our ascended knights were brought here to the capital. We will reward him. Then the king said, if it weren't for you, Tellus and Silk would not have survived. I will give you 10 platinum pieces and a special palace for you. This man said in astonishment that granting a 10-year-old boy a noble rank is impossible. He is still a child and platinum pieces. Cain is surprised and says, I cannot become a baron suddenly. The king gets angry at the boy and says, could you have eliminated all those orcs by yourself like Cain did? Then Cain said, I accept everything you want. The king said, you have not left, but come to the reception room. Then they went there and thanked Silk's father and the king again. Cain said to them, I found people being attacked and I helped them. Now, let's talk about your future. You are skilled in magic and swordsmanship, and you have protections from 7 people. This kingdom is not fragile enough to leave a talented child alone, so I made you a baron. You will receive rewards according to official laws, and if you have any questions about nobility, ask Jerem. Then the king remembered his conversation with Silk's father and the old man. The old man said, "We will support him and give him a noble rank, and then give him a palace to live in. By doing so, we will see his true nature." The king asked his daughter and Silk if they both wanted Cain to marry one of them. It turned out that both of them wanted Cain. The king said, "I have decided to keep Cain here in the kingdom." Then Cain agreed to the engagement, and Tylus and Silk were happy with the news. If you are new to my channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button before the video starts. It really helps me keep making anime recaps. The story keeps going, and Cain is now in the church to meet the Magnificent Seven. Cain says that he did too much while leveling up, and he wants to talk to them about his situation. Xenom says that his current numbers are pretty unhuman, and he asks Cain if he wants to be stronger than he was before. Xenon tells Cain that you have become much stronger than you were before, and I am entrusted to let you live until the age of 15. He also tells Cain that he needs to realize that he can't do everything by himself. Xenon then changes the subject and says that this realm doesn't have much to do for fun. So he wants Cain to use what he knows from his other life to make some. Cain thinks that things from his own world would be popular here, so the god asks him to bring them. Now we move to another place, and Cain is now in a store for women's clothes, where Rain is shopping. A few outfits. Cain thinks this is strange, so he leaves the store. Cain then sees Parma, the cat girl he saved from his summon monster, outside the store. Parma asks Cain, "Are you the guy who saved me?" He's doing something here. Cain tells her that he is here for his debut, and he asks her what she is doing here. Parma tells Cain that she is learning at her uncle's shop, and she calls her uncle Tomans. Cain then asks if he can look around his shop, and when he does, he sees that they sell a lot of different kinds of things. Then he talks about a fun thing he wants to make and asks Tamanis if he would be willing to make and sell it. Tamani says that he will, and Cain tells him what will happen. Reversi Tamanis thinks this is great and thinks it would sell. Cain then asks Tamanis if he can make a prototype of this, and he gives him a gold coin to cover the costs. Tamanis says that this is too much, but Cain tells him to think of it as an investment. Tamanis agrees, and he takes on the task. The store and Rain get mad at the head of the Sarah King Company for leaving without telling her. Ray says that she wanted Cain to see how she looks in her new clothes. Cain says that he already knows that she looks great in everything she wears. This makes Ray happy, and she says that she is going to show Cain all of her outfits at home. Then, they go home, where Rain shows Cain all of her clothes and asks Cain to do the same. His clothes. Sylvie then tells Cain that Tamani said he wanted him to come to a shop, so Cain goes to a shop. Tamani shows Cain the prototype, and Cain thinks it looks just like how he imagined it. Cain plays the game with Parma, and Tamani explains how it works. Tamatis thinks this is awesome and is sure that it will sell. Cain then tells Tamanis to make 2 different versions, one for the nobles and one for the commoners. Cain says that the nobles would rather have a fancier product, so he tells Tomans to make 50 noble versions and 1,000 regular versions. Tomans says that their company doesn't have enough money to make this many, so Cain gives him 5 gold coins. Then he thanks Cain for his investment and says that they should start by making a contract and giving it to the god of commerce. Tamani says that once they make the contract, no one else will be able to make the same product for 3 years, and they give the product to the god of commerce. Cain then asks Tamanis to make a reversi that is extra fancy because he wants to give it to the royal family. Tamanis agrees to do this. Cain goes home, where Sylvie tells him that the debut ceremony is about to start. Cain and his family then go to the ceremony. Garm tells Cain that he will get a lot of attention today because he was just made baron, and that he should be careful of parents who want to introduce him to their daughters. Cain says he'll find a way to deal with them, and when they get to the palace, there are notices, Silk, and Duke waiting for them. Eric and Cain are afraid of the Duke's smile. Garm then introduces them to Cain, who thinks that their last meeting wasn't public. Eric then thanks Cain for saving his daughter and hopes that the 2 of them will get along well. Then she says hello to Cain, who compliments Silk's outfit and says she looks like a princess. Silk is happy about this, and then Eric steps in and says that Cain is too good. With the ladies for it, 10-year-old Garm explains that this is because of his sister Rain as she gets angry. If he isn't careful around her, they leave, and the king and his family come into the room. Everyone is greeted by the king, who asks everyone to do their best for the kingdom. The nobles then tell the king about themselves, and then it's Cain's turn. Cain says hello to the king and the princess. He tells the princess that she looks like a goddess in her dress. This makes the princess happy, and the king asks Garm how he raised his child to be such a womanizer. Cain then thinks that the king's smile is also scary, so he tells the king that he would like to give him something. Cain then takes the reverse he set out of his item box and says that this is a game that he and the Sarah King Company made together. The king thinks this sounds interesting and would like to hear more about it later. After the ceremony, the king invites Cain into the parlor and says he also wants to talk to him about his daughter. Garm then says that he didn't know Cain was making a game, and Cain says that he thought he would need a lot of money to keep his mansion up and running. After becoming a baron, Garm knows what's going on. Garm then says he has to go back to his rounds and tells Cain that he should talk to the other kids like he did when he was young. Then, Silk goes up to Cain and offers him something to drink. Then they talk, and Silk says that she's glad she met Cain because she can now talk to someone other than Tellys. Cain then tells Silk to stop using titles when talking to him, and Silk starts calling Cain by his name. Then, a good-looking child named Habit comes there and greets Silk. He thinks that Silk would be happy to meet him and Silk, so he greets him with a cold smile. His servants tell Cain that he should at least say who he is, so Cain says he is a baron. Others think he is the son of a baron, and because he is the son of a baron, they make fun of him. Habit then asks Cain to apologize to him for not greeting him. Cain stops properly and Silk from helping, and he tells her that Habit will be the one to say sorry. This makes Habit upset, so he tells Cain to go outside. After that, they go outside, where Silk asks Cain what he plans to do. Silk tells Cain and Habit that she's worried about them, and then she tells them to stop flirting. He says that his two lackeys are safe because the god of magic and Silk is watching over them. He acts scared, and she sticks to Cain's ways. Then the lackeys try to use magic, but they forget their spells. Then they look at their books and read the spells from them. Then, both kids use their magic, but their magic isn't strong enough, and their attacks don't hurt anyone. Then, they try to use magic on Cain again, but Silk stops them and says she doesn't know how they got so mixed up. But Cain isn't a baron's son. He is a nobleman. She says that he is the third son of Margrave Cain von Silford, and he says that it's Princess Celestia and her from an army of 50 orcs. Silk then tells them that they should be bowing to him, and they ask Cain for forgiveness. Then, they leave, and Silk thinks Cain is very sneaky for not trying to clear up their confusion. She says that she will have to tell Tellys about this, but Cain tells her to keep it a secret from him. Silk says that she will if he agrees to go on a date with her and Tellys. She then asks them what they are doing. Cain stops her from telling her about Silk, and Tellys brings up the touching. She says that the lips of a single woman are scandalous and that she will have to tell Duke Eric about this. Tellys then asks them to tell her the truth, and Silk tells her that Cain promised to take her out on a date. Tellys says that this isn't fair, so she asks him to take her out on a date, too. The king then asks Cain where he plans to take his daughter later. Cain agrees. Cain plays a game called Reversey with the king, and the king thinks it's fun. Cain says he's going to tell everyone in the kingdom. Eric then tells Cain that he's heard Cain has set up a date with Silk. He says that the plans for their engagement are still a secret and that both the king and Eric told Cain to be careful on their date. Thanks for watching part 4. The other parts will be on my channel. Like and share the video, please. If you liked it, make sure to click the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you can keep getting new anime recaps. The episode begins with Cain being with the minister when a representative came to deliver ownership of a large house to Cain, along with its key and map. Cain was very happy to finally have a big house of this size, even though he was still very young. The representative also told him that the key came with a special letter from the king to Cain. Cain rushed to the house to inspect it, but he felt that it was abandoned. When he entered the house, he found it full of dust and dirt, and he couldn't see anything in there because there was no lighting. He used his power to ignite a ball of fire and wandered around the house. He found everything in it destroyed, so he decided to use his magic to clean it until it became very clean. Afterward, Cain decided to send word to his family to come and visit him in his new home. A few days later, his family arrived and were very happy to see the new house. His mother expressed great optimism about their new home, and Cain told her that the house belonged to all of them. His father reminded him not to forget his roots, as he had been staying in the king's palace and needed to visit his land and his family. At that moment, the house staff came to welcome Cain's family. The head servant, who had been the head servant of the old house, spoke to them and was pleased to serve Cain's family. Cain's sister begged him to show her her new bedroom, and the mother felt that the house was abandoned. Cain told her that after the owner of the house died, it was abandoned for a long time. Everyone in the palace was afraid because the owner had died some time ago and the house had been abandoned. It was possible that it had become haunted by evil spirits. However, Cain reassured them that they didn't need to be afraid, because if he acted afraid, they would be too. The head servant reassured them that all of these were just rumors. After that, Cain's father tells him that he heard that this house had many accidents, but he leaves that matter and they explore the house to find that it only needs some decorations to fit Cain's status as he has become one of the nobles. After finishing their work, Cain finds this large space and decides to use it to create good decor. At this time, they hear a screaming sound coming from the servants in the palace, and they are shocked when they see this huge dragon in the courtyard. Cain tells them that this statue he placed in the palace is a new dragon decor. However, it is clear that they were very afraid of it because it looks very real. Then we learn that this dragon is one of the legendary dragons, and as soon as it appears in any place, it destroys it and kills those who are there. Cain's father is amazed that his son was able to create a dragon that looks so similar, and he comes up with the idea that if they wanted to sell it, they would earn a lot of money, around 1,000 pieces of gold. Cain is shocked and tells him that if anyone visits them, they will see this dragon in the courtyard, especially since he has decided to prepare a party. Then he asks him why he is leaving the dragon here since all the people at the party will be afraid of it, and they must celebrate because anyone who lives in this palace and is called a noble must invite all his noble friends to get to know him. Then Cain asks the servant what he should do, and he answers that there are inherited traditions that everyone does when they live here. Cain feels that he is involved in bringing the king and the minister to the party, and the servant talks to him and tells him that he is ready to write the invitations himself. Cain is happy and prepares the servant for Kyle's invitations. He tells him that he has sent the invitations to the king, but while he was there, they told him that they want to meet him. Cain goes there and is received by the king and the minister. Then Cain sees that the king is angry with him and tells him that since he left us last time, we haven't seen you again and your recent absence has made my daughter very sad and depressed. Cain is shocked because he thought that the servants sent the invitations without him, and then the king gets angry and says, "Why didn't you send us an invitation?" Cain apologizes to them and says, "I will talk to the girls, don't worry, and I promise I will take care of them." Then Cain leaves a special invitation and gives it to the king and is very happy with it. He talks to the minister that Cain wanted to invite me with a special invitation. After that, Cain returns to the palace and talks to all the servants, saying that the king, the minister, and the girls will attend the party. Then everyone is shocked and says, "Will the king attend the party, and you also announced the engagement of Talista and Silk?" Cain apologizes to them and says, "We want to prepare a party that is suitable for all of them, and I want you to help me make this party the most successful party. We will hire a company to provide us with the best food and drinks, and I will ask the servants to prepare a list of the basics that they want at the party, and all the dishes and things will be of the finest types." Then Cain uses his magic to search for the best types. He succeeds in making large quantities of the best glass, and this man is one of the most famous chefs in the world. Then he gives him the required specifications. The next day, Cain prepares for the final party where many nobles, kings, and princes have arrived, but Cain is shocked by the large number of attendees, which exceeded about 100 people. This house is very small and resembles a dog's house. Cain speaks in a rude manner, as if he doesn't like anything. Then we find that the servant wants to alert him to the presence of a very large statue and not to be afraid of it, but Cain grabs the servant's hand and tells him to leave it so that he will be afraid of it and we can be rid of him. Indeed, he enters, and when he sees the dragon, he becomes very afraid and falls to the ground. Then Cain approaches him and tells him that this is his statue and he made it. We see the prince walking in the palace and telling him that his taste is bad and his guests are very low class and not nobles. All those present are annoyed when they hear this and are upset with Cain. They say, "How can you invite someone like this?" He does not like any drinks offered to him, saying that their taste is very bad, and he also says that the food is very bad, although he eats a large amount of it. But Cain gets very angry with him and wishes to hit him, but the servant tells him to be calm so as not to annoy the guests. Then Cain brings him a set of glasses that he made using his magic, and the prince is very impressed with them and says that he wants a large quantity of them. However, Cain tells him that he cannot give him a large quantity because this quantity is only for the number of guests at the party. We find that the king has heard all this prince's talk and all the bullying against him. Suddenly, he appears from behind him, and when the prince sees him, he is shocked and falls to the ground, saying, "How can you be in a place like this, O king? I didn't know you were here." The king told him that it's natural for him to be in a party like this because he saved his daughter's life. The king then scolded the prince for bullying Cain and told him that he should be punished for his behavior. The prince apologized and said he was just joking. The king's daughter then approached Cain and told him how much she enjoyed the party. Cain thanked her, and the king was shocked to see Cain behind him. The king admitted that he was the one who organized the party, and everyone laughed. This concludes the summary of the 5th episode of Cain's story. We hope you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to receive updates on new content. At the beginning of the episode, we see the hero Cain preparing for a dangerous mission at the academy. He receives instructions from the vice commander Diam after a long wait, where he must search for a place to hide his dangerous monster materials. But it seems that he faces troubles, as the room given to him is unsuitable. What will the hero do, and will he be able to escape from these dangerous monsters? You will feel the excitement and thrill as you watch this fascinating adventure. At the academy, when Vice Commander Diam approaches him after a long wait to search for a place to hide some dangerous monster materials. Prime Minister Magna advised him to leave some materials here so that the commander sees them. However, the room that was given to him is not suitable for Cain's materials as he owns many monsters. The commander was shocked because the room was too big. Then he asked him if they all have the red dragon serum that he has in the palace. Cain told him that he has an earth dragon and that this dragon can be defeated by a group of adventurers. The commander was even more shocked by what he heard. They then went to the academy courtyard, and the commander asked Cain to put the monsters here until the knights can transport them to another location. Cain used his power and took out the toolbox and several monsters, and the commander was surprised because he fought all these monsters alone, and he felt like a superhero. But Cain told him that he is just a son of the Margrave Garm. The commander told him that they will take some time to evaluate this number and will let him know when they are done. He then asked him to help him train the knights because he wants to meet their leader who loves strong people. Cain agreed to his request and went with him to the knights to meet them. He was the one who destroyed 30 orcs and saved the princess. Cain asked about their leader, and Diam told him that he will come soon as the visual battle begins. Their leader loves to see an exciting battle in the end. Cain was afraid that the leader might be a very creepy person, but Diam reassured him that the leader will not eat him. Then the commander asked the knights to start the mock battle, but they hesitated because Cain was too young, only 10 years old. The commander told Cain that he could start the battle himself, so it began. Cain attacked a knight and broke his wooden sword, defeating him. The commander, Diam, was impressed and told Cain he was even better than he expected. He then ordered all the knights to attack him, but their commander, a woman, arrived and was angry at them for attacking a child. She soon realized who Cain was and asked him to fight her, since he had defeated 30 orcs and saved Princess Celestia. Cain was surprised that she wanted to fight him, but the commander said they would fight with their swords. Cain only had a wooden sword, but the commander didn't mind and said she would enjoy it. They fought and Cain was able to hold his own against her, impressing the other knights. They attacked again and Cain hit the commander with all his might, putting his sword to her neck. He declared the fight over, and she surprised him by saying she would marry him. Cain was confused, since he was only 10 and didn't know anything about her, but the commander thought it was a good idea. She said, "I'll introduce myself. My name is Tijuana, the leader of the Royal Icefort Knights organization, and I hold the honorary title of Viscount. Don't worry about the age difference since I'm an elf and will live for 300 years, so my appearance won't change for a long time." Then Cain said to Diam, "I believe the Duke's daughter can make decisions on her wedding day." The leader replied, saying, "Don't worry. When I left home, I said I wouldn't return until I found a marriage partner, so things will be fine." He responded, "That may be fine for you, but not for me. I need to consult with my father and many other people." Then the leader spoke to Diam about wanting to meet the king and arranged a meeting with him. Cain thought to himself, "This is the worst thing that could happen. Leaving the king to hear about this is the last thing I need." Then they all went to the king, and he asked Cain why he was here, saying, "Didn't you go to the night station to put some monster materials?" The leader said they had decided to get married, and the king and Cain's father were surprised. The king asked him to explain from the beginning, so Cain spoke of their mock battle and how they won. The king asked if he had told her about Tellus and Silk, and Cain replied that it was supposed to be a secret. His father asked about the position held by the leader, and she replied that she was only known as the leader of the knights. He told them that the region of Libert, where she came from, was actually a country of elves, and they were often dragged into wars by those who wanted to kidnap or enslave them. However, in this kingdom, according to the first king's will before his death, there was no racial discrimination. Therefore, they put their land under our protection as a region of the kingdom, and Libert is a self-governing area that is slightly different from an independent state. In other words, Tijuana is an essential princess, and you received a marriage proposal from her. This is still confidential, but I will inform you. Cain now is engaged. My daughter Telestia is engaged to Cain, as well as the daughter of Duke Eric, Miss Silka. At that moment, Tijuana spoke and said, "This means that Cain is an exceptional young man enough to be appreciated in such a way." Then suddenly she said, "This will increase my desire to marry Cain." The king was surprised by her and her country, and said to her, "If that is the case, you must first write a letter to your father, Lisan, and after his approval, we will reconsider the matter." Tijuana was very happy and took Cain to talk to him and write the letter to her father. Then the king spoke and said, "I cannot believe it myself, even this girl was defeated by Cain. She is the strongest knight in the kingdom. How can a boy at the age of 10 have such great strength?" He looked at Garam and said to him, "Tell us, Garam, about your son Cain and what his story is and what the truth of all this strength is." Garam said, "I don't know anything, and it seems that he killed the red dragon in the palace alone too." Finally, the commander Dayam spoke, and when asked if he was a hero or a follower of the Jinn, his reaction was very strange. This boy is hiding something big, and there is one way to test him, which is this book. The next morning, Cain was walking when he met the deputy commander Dayam. The deputy commander said to him, "I see you look tense and tired. I think this girl is the reason for that. You have to fight her in sword, fight her every day, fight fiercely and never leave me after the fight. Do you know, Cain, if it weren't for you, our commander would not have increased her strength with all this power." Cain replied, "While I was facing Tijuana in the training battles, the title of the infamous swordsman was added to my situation." Then the deputy commander pulled him by the collar because the king wanted him now. Finally, they went to the king, and everyone was waiting for him. Cain was amazed by this situation. "Why is everyone here now?" The king told him, "I summoned you here today because I wanted to show you something important. What do you think of this book that has been passed down through generations of the royal family? It is said that the first king wrote it." "You can see it, Cain," the king said, and Cain looked at the book and began to read it. He seemed to know everything about it. At that point, the king said exactly what Cain had anticipated: "None of us can read these texts because they were written by our first king in Japanese, and we do not speak Japanese." The king then asked him who he was specifically. Cain was nervous and his eyes were fixed on them because he could no longer hide anything. But when they discover that he has reappeared in another world, will he have to reveal the whole truth now? He looked at them and said, I will tell you the whole truth, but I don't want anyone to know it except those who are present here. If you don't understand me, I will leave the kingdom. Cain continued, I carry memories from my previous life. They are memories from a different land, the land from which your first king came. They are memories of Japan. All present were surprised by Cain's words, as he had never told anyone this before. Then his father asked him in amazement, Are you the son of Sarah or my son? Cain replied, Yes, I am your son. The wise men told me when I was baptized at the age of 5. All present were amazed that he had met the wise men. He continued, When I go to the temple, I often meet the 7 wise men. Everyone is amazed that I met them all. They ask me to show them my state, and I open it and find that everything I said is true. The king was very surprised by this, as he had never heard of it before, and Cain had not told him the truth before. The king addresses Baron Cain and tells him that with this title, every citizen of this kingdom, not just from this world, must bow to him. Cain interrupts and tells the king that this is not what he wants. Although he has memories of his previous life, he is content with the life he has now. He didn't understand anything when he was reborn in this world, but his parents and many people were kind to him. The experiences he had using his amazing power and fighting monsters in his adventures were extremely exciting. Meeting Tellus and Silk and all of them and being appointed as Baron was a great honor, much more than he deserved in his previous world. He had lost his father and grandfather and was completely alone, but now he was blessed with a wonderful circle of family and friends and lived a happy life. He thanks the king for making him the son of Garm, then apologizes for hiding all of this from him and asks him to treat him the same way as always. The king agrees to this, acknowledging him and his kingdom as the son of Garm, still the Baron Cain is before, but says that Cain is worthy of being the king instead of him. Cain is shocked by this statement and jumps in surprise. Suddenly, the female commander enters and wants to marry Cain. She shows the king the message she just received from her father, granting her permission to marry Baron Cain. She then quickly takes Cain with her and leaves, leaving everyone present surprised because she took him away again. One of the bystanders says to the king that the way Cain just acted suggests that he is still a child, and he doesn't think the king needs to worry. There will always be Cain. The king agreed and ordered everyone present not to speak of the conversation that took place outside the room. You must not tell anyone, not even your families. The king spoke, saying, Cain, look at the size of your strength. Please protect this country and your family, including Tellus and Silk and all citizens who seek your help. The next day, Cain got into a fight with his fiancées because he proposed to the leader Tejuana. He told them that he had fought a battle with the Knights organization, and that was the end of it. The two of them were angry with him for having so many fiancées, even though he was only 10 years old. However, one of them didn't mind his many fiancées, while the other objected and told him to stop accepting more fiancées indiscriminately. Suddenly, his third fiancée, the leader Tejuana, entered and invited him to share our love once again today. His other fiancées were surprised and angry at this, and he informed them that she meant that they would fight another imaginary battle, and then she took him and left. And thus ends episode 6. Follow us in the next episode, but we hope you subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all new content.